You are tuned in. Yours truly, Jay Martin, the Renaissance Man. And I call this All Jokes Aside. And this episode right here is going to be, I'm going to say it before it even starts. It's going to be one of my favorite, because I got two of my favorite comedians in the building. These guys go back with me like car seats, like way back. We all grew up and started roughly together. We went through the nervous energy. I'm going to allow them. I'm going to brag about them because they're amazing. Fresh off of coming into town for the Juno Awards, writers, movies, TV shows, script writing, on-stage award winners. Right here is like the real Comedy Canada Hall of Fame. And I don't want to brag, but it's yours truly, Jay Martin. All jokes aside, introduce just yourself, because you're my brother from another mother, John Paul. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm a Lebanese comic. My name's Dave Merheje. John Paul, the island hipster. Yeah.
Yes.
So, your brethren for life. And,
That's it.
One half of the Trinidad versus Jamaica
Comedy.
sensational, decades-long running Mother's Day clean comedy clash. Man.
And before he does it, because that was a wonderful intro, by the way, my brother. Before he does it, when I heard this guy was in town,
Right.
I was like, what? I tried to get him. You've seen him on so many movies, TV shows. I'll read off the accolades after. But I mean, we know him as our guy, Dave Merheje. He's in the building. Say what's up. Tell where you live. Tell why you're here. That's my boy right there.
I reside in Los Angeles, but I am Canadian.
Yes, you
I
are.
am the Lebanese. Well, I guess, yeah, the Lebanese comedian, but I was born in Canada.
Wow.
So that I don't get kicked out.
Yes.
But my parents were born in Lebanon. I just do a whole bio of them. But no, I'm super, super pumped.
Yes.
I mean, we go like, I'm actually even coming here. I thought about this time where at the Nubian show where I think you were headlining. I can't remember. Remember?
Me?
I think he went the
Jay.
first time when he first came on, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone, I think they were trying to stack the audience?
They were trying. They did stack it.
And then you like murdered it. We were like, yeah, I mean, it's all right.
He's
cooking.
okay.
Yeah, he's cooking everyone.
It's so funny you
right?
say
remember
that.
Yeah, dude.
It was
we were
like
just- every play was a blitz. every comedian was a blitz.
Get
to the quarterback.
Get to the quarterback and knock his head off.
But wasn't it from what I can remember, maybe on my memories, it was like in a good way, it was like a storm was coming.
Yes.
You know what it was?
Right?
You know what exactly what it was like? And you being from LA will know exactly what it is. It's like getting jumped in a gang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get by yourself.
You're like, stop hitting me.
But you came to like, I don't think you had been doing it. That was the thing. I don't think you'd been doing it long.
I don't even think you'd been doing it 6 months.
Yeah, just 6 months in, and Kenny pulled you want to headline this, and I'm like, okay. And that time I was still working at Bell, so I had access to limousines, and I think that pissed off some people. With all due respect,
I think they were pissed too because you were just murdering right away, and then you weren't like, I guess, doing other, because comedians are so like fixated on like the in between,
right?
The crafting, like, they're not putting time, or are they on the grind or whatever it was,
right?
But it was like, but people probably didn't know that you came from entertainment background.
Correct.
So you already had like,
Speaking of Junos, you already had a Juno.
You already had,
You had a Juno before comedians had access to Junos.
Junos.
Yours wasn't even from comedy.
Right.
Which is
Right.
You had like such like good performance. Like it was like
You had great
almost,
presence.
in 2000s,
great
like when
presence.
people were performing. I mean, people perform not as much now, I think, as comedians. It's more of like, it feels like more of like,
Delivery and just
delivery,
words.
but back then it was like a show. I think there was wigs and wardrobe change,
Of course there was.
which we never seen any of that. I'm like, what, a wardrobe change?
Wardrobe
I was like, that's
change?
crazy.
He was culturally appropriating before people were getting canceled. It's like, is he wearing Indian shoes?
Yeah.
I'm wearing Indian shoes. You know what? To be honest with you guys, thank you for all of that. When we started out, or especially when I started out and seeing all you guys, especially that night, it would be a night etched in my head forever. Some of the greatest names were on that show. I don't even know how Kenny fit them. Of course, you two were on it. Mark was on it.
Rouse.
Jason Rouse, Jerry D, John, Cedric. It was just act after act after act.
It was
after
crazy
act.
to see if you were there, because I think the Nubian show at the time, I mean, it's still great, but at the time it was like, I don't know. It felt like
It had a mystique back then.
yeah, and it
Of
was
course,
like
it had a bit of mystique and
intense.
it had a sheen on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you couldn't really walk in. Now when people do it, I guess it's like, I don't know if it seems more welcoming. Not that it wasn't super welcoming, but like they
less
would let you know.
Yeah,
if you
it's
were
less
bad.
confrontational.
Yeah,
Sorry, not confrontational. It's less gladiatorial.
yeah, way less.
That's the
Dude,
word
I've
I
seen
like to
people
use.
walk out. I've had to walk out with
Bro.
like basically a body cast, but like
Oh.
emotion.
I'm telling
yeah,
you,
yeah.
my favorite story from my favorite boo from all that is, and I love Wafik Nasrallah. I think did you ever hear this song?
I want to hear it. Let's go.
So Wafik comes on, great comedian from Ottawa, and he's pretty much blind in one eye, and he goes up first
From the
time.
premise, we're laughing.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at the blind.
First time goes up, destroys. Kenny comes up and he's like, "You think we should have him back?" And the crowd's like, "Yeah." So Kenny brings him back, whatever it is, 3, 4, 6, whatever months later to do it again. And Wafik's feeling, he's feeling himself, he's smelling himself, and gets up and just bombs.
Same material.
I can't remember.
Oh.
And bombs, and then Kenny gets on, and the first thing Kenny says is, "Damn, that nigga took it in his good eye."
I was like, wow.
You think you bomb Kenny would come in? That was the best part about it.
It was watching people
Truly
bomb
the best part
and
about
be
it.
there. But I gotta kind of segue in. Dave Merheje, like you would come on, and I like the guys that are coming up after us, so to speak. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Dave Merheje on," and wherever your name was slotted, no one wanted to go behind you
agreed.
because you were just. You had this way of looking so nervous in the green room. Remember,
I was.
you'd be like, I don't know. What do you do? Do you know what you do? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you would find a way to take, I don't know what I'm doing, and go there and make it an absolute masterpiece. Like, tell us, where does your writing come from? It was one of my questions. Where does your writing come from? Especially then. You would do the lights thing. Remember the lights joke you had? Like,
I think it was like, I think energy. I think it was like actual nerves, which still kind of exist. And then now it's like a little bit more like
controlled.
It's controlled. I could be like, okay, I'm going to use this in a positive way.
Right.
Not that it wasn't used in a positive way back then, but I think it would like, obviously I would write, but I would like think about it all day or all week and like kind of put the set in my head throughout the week. But then I would always allow a space for if I could go, I can improvise or go not the way the audience wanted, but like where I felt the journey was going up there. It wasn't like I didn't try to restrict myself, like my act all the way through, because I love the spontaneity of, or even if it went bad, because it was just like, it felt like super raw to me.
Very.
So I think that's where a lot of it came from. It was structured, but like, I think sometimes when you see it, it's like, oh, he's like rambling. So it doesn't look like it's structured or there's like punchlines. They are. It's just that like it's like almost in my head, it's like a timeline, or like I can see the set this way.
right.
And then I'll just slide in.
Yeah.
Or
Different pieces.
or if like somebody says something, I'm like, oh, I'll slide this in there. It's like from like basically going up, like 10, 15 times at that time, 10, 15 times a week.
Right.
And you were obsessive when it came to doing spots.
I was.
gosh,
You
yeah,
was
super.
crazy.
He'd make
I don't
it
think
to
I'm
my
obsessive
open
now,
mic.
and I think people think I am still. And I'm
No,
like,
man. He'd make it to my open mic and be like, I gotta go. And he's like downtown, Ossington, here, that.
He would time the bus.
Yeah.
There was another comic. I think he stopped doing it, but he would. I was like impressed. He did a spot on your show.
Yeah.
And then he goes, all the buses here, and he got. Do you know what I'm
From
talking
the
about?
stage.
Yeah. He
From
would,
the stage.
Yeah, I
Because
can't remember what his
Mississauga
name
to
was.
Toronto and I gotta get the
And he
transfer.
would leave, and we were like, oh, he was hustling. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind, but I don't think I'm that obsessive now, because I just think I try to work a little smarter. I think back then I needed
It's
to like,
harder. You had to
I
get the
agree.
reps in.
yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that's what everybody in the beginning, you know what I
Yes.
mean? You just did it. You were so happy. One, you were so happy to be allowed to tell jokes and
Yeah.
to go somewhere. And then eventually you realize to work smarter, not harder.
Correct.
I think people still
whatever
think
that
though, they'll be like, man, you hitting it like the same way. I go, dude, I'm not a chance. I don't even want to be there. I don't even know how I did that.
You did. Both of you come from such a unique background. You know what I mean? And how has your background shaped the identity of your comedy? and how did it have a fixture in how you deliver your
I
comedy?
mean, I don't know about Dave, but I'm speaking for myself, like being from Trinidad and Tobago, the climate, and I don't mean temperature wise.
Right.
We're a people where everybody in Trinidad thinks they're funny, and they are like
Yep.
super comedic, and we come from
Yep.
a lineman culture, which is just basically like a contained party. And some of the best storytellers I've ever seen included in my family, like my uncle Trevor and my uncle Larry, were like some of the funniest dudes. So I think I have it in me. Pause. I think I have that natural sense of timing, and I think I get that through genetics as well as just through the fabric of the country. And so for me, it is an important part of. And plus, I just have a genuine love for stand up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, new stuff, old stuff. Like, like I even like the mumble rap of comedy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not all of it, obviously.
And your background, Mike?
I had an answer, but I was just thinking about like, I mean, the comedy scene in Toronto was like so cool back then because I feel, I mean, not that it isn't now, it's just kind of like, because I was more entrenched in it back then. It's like you had like elements of like the alt scene.
Correct.
Then you had your room in Ajax. And then you had your brand basically was like an empire of like different shows. And it was just like, I fully remember, I was with Nick Reynolds at your show. I think I was trying to dance, and I turn around and this woman goes, "No,
don't do it."
She said, "Don't do it." And I remember me and Nick were like, "Oh man, I've never been stopped." And I think I went sat down, but it was like you had like all these elements that made, I think, basically I was like, man, now I sound like an old person, but like I was so glad to come up in that time.
But I agree too. Like when I think of some of the names, like when I saw you today, I wasn't expecting. I knew you were in town, but I wasn't expecting to see you today. But when I saw you, I was so I was filled with like just joy because I know who you were then, and I know who you are now. And when I think of the names when we came up with, there was you, there was Nate McIntosh. To watch Bircher, to watch Nick Reynolds come up, to watch Crystal Ferrier, to watch Pedro, to watch you, to watch me, to watch like just to watch all these people succeed. Arthur, Simeon, like all these names, when you think about it, are all successful comedians. You know what I mean? And at least for me, like I feel like the uncle, the cool uncle that got to, even though I was just slightly ahead of them, I know you guys looked up to me like, oh my God, John Paul's, he's the guy, bro.
Yeah, he's the guy.
But to watch you guys now be yourselves, to me, is like the dopest feeling in the entire world.
That right there, be yourselves. As comedians, we were in a time where we could be ourselves.
Yes.
And now we find that something happened after COVID. A lot of people got more sensitive. A lot of people got more what you can say and can't say. Is there a time now within your careers that you guys are ever afraid, A, of being canceled or taking it too far?
I'll say no, just for the simple fact that I at least take calculated risks.
Right.
And if I am going to say something, it's going to be something that I'm willing to stand on.
Correct.
Or as the kids say, 10 toes down.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I can also say for myself, I'm not a controversial
comedian
or a political guy. But if something strikes me and I feel strongly about it, I'll say it, man. Just because the stage is supposed to be our sanctity. Mm-hmm. And I think we're the ones that people look to, regardless of whether people, and it's funny to go from class clown he's not going to make it in life and he needs to blah 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 to all of a sudden we're the beacon of information.
Correct.
We're the ones that people are like, how could this guy say that? And like, so now all of a sudden you're taking us seriously.
Correct.
So if I am going to say something that could be construed or misconstrued as controversial, that might get me canceled, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down. And if it's just something that I think is this is gonna get a reaction, I'm not about that. I'm not gonna do it just for that.
Dave, I asked the question to you as well because I've seen your stand-up from its conception. A lot of it was spontaneity. Sometimes you say something almost like a Tourette's, what comes out, and that's authentically Dave. I wonder how he would go through the times where, okay, Dave, you can't say that. And that question's almost a double-edged sword because you have to go into TV where those risks aren't often taken.
Yeah, I mean, like over time, I mean, now too, I am very, I mean, I'll admit that I am very self-aware of what I can and what I can't say, because I do want to work in places and spaces. Like I do really want to act more and all that stuff, but I do naturally not like a controversial person.
Correct.
So most of it is about my family and you know,
Your
and
material.
I also think like, and it's not my place to judge anyone. I'm not even judging anyone, but I think a good sign of a joke of it's, I feel it, even if it's controversial, it's not harmful. I think along the lines, comedians are like, also, if you're like, I can't say anything and you have a Netflix special, you can say something.
Exactly.
They gave you something.
They
That's
gave
just like
you
a
something
weird,
to make you say that.
yeah, that's like a very weird, like it feels performative. It's like, who's this for, man? You got like, you already have 10, you have like a lot of Netflix specials or a lot of Hulu, like whatever you're on. Like obviously somebody let you
Do that.
You know, the ultimate cancel
Someone
is if
greenlit
you're-
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can't do anything. But I feel like if you're with your intention, I mean, that's a lot of things too. Is like I feel like I don't want to be tricked. It's like, look, man, if you want to be racist through your jokes or offensive purposely, then tell me you're gonna do it.
Right.
Like stand on business that way. Don't go, hey man, you're being like woke.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not being. I'm like, I know when it's a racist
You know,
joke.
you know what you were saying.
Yes.
You're like,
You know
don't
what you're
play
saying.
me.
Yeah.
Right. Because
on
we know.
Yeah, on entertainment, like just because we're in a platform of entertainment, but like you would like if we were outside of entertainment, not that I'm not a physical person or anything, but I'm like just like I'm the idiot. Like
Yeah.
you know purposely that this intention was like
Right.
You know, you see a lot of comedians, you know, back in the day like Carlin and Lenny Bruce, they were saying things you can't say, but it was done in a way where I don't think it was harmful to people's
No.
culture.
And it was crafted.
Yes,
It was
So
crafted, and it wasn't
crafted.
crafted to solicit or elicit a response.
That's now it
it
feels
was,
like
it was to elicit laughter at the end of it
Yes.
all.
When you
But
thought
it was
it out.
still also, you know, plant the seed for something to think about if that's something you've never thought about before. You know, and one of my whole things too is when I say I'm going to stand 10 toes down, I'm glad that you mentioned the word. I do. My intention is a big thing for me.
Yes.
You know, in life, but and mostly in comedy. And like to your point. The way my grandmother, you know, would describe it is, you know, if you're doing it to be performative, don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining.
Well said.
Well said.
Well
it's like,
said.
It's like if you're gonna, like if you like, I come from a Middle Eastern background. If you're gonna insult my heritage,
Right.
you're insulting my heritage. There's no, if it's
Correct.
a joke that like,
Yeah.
if
I don't
and
care.
you
how
just want to
paint
do
it.
that.
I don't care
Yeah,
how you
that's
paint
your
it.
agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where not the confusion. I think a lot of things I see is like that, which that's what I mean. Where for me, not trying to stop you from freedom of speech, or I'm not a person that would get offended that easily. It's just
Right.
like you can tell when you being shady with me about this.
Right,
That's
right.
what it is. Where I'm like, nah, you know, you
And don't be surprised when you get pushback. Just
Yeah.
because you get to say something. What? So you have freedom of speech, but I don't have freedom
Exactly.
of speech to say something back.
It's like a lot of times, you know, I mean, you know, people of like ethnic background. It's like,
Right.
you know, you both probably we've all been in that situation where I'm like, I think they're being racist.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like, you know what I mean? It's like
Bouncing around.
I kind of feel like that right now. I'm a little uncomfortable.
I got a question I'm itching to say. Your culture throughout your career that I've watched, Dave, has a lot of hip hop influences. I don't know many Lebanese rappers, but that being said, your influence. How did you? Both of you. I know music is in our comedy constantly. I know hip hop was your thing. What's your letter to hip hop, and how is it personified in its way to make you a better comedian? And it's the same with the music of cultures, because we all love all music, but I just know specifically Dave has a lot of influences from hip hop.
a lot of battle rap too, because of like the way they would like perform. To me was like, I think I like was influenced by that, like where the hand movements maybe, or the energy of hip hop I enjoyed from like the marketing of it, the presentation of it, which I try to adapt to stand up.
Perfect.
That was like how I, you know.
And I mean, mine is pretty much the same, but just add that. So the thing I'm working on now is called Dual Citizen, which is DUEL, not DUAL.
Right.
Because I'm both, like born Trinity, but like grew up in Toronto.
Right.
So I consider myself both. But when it comes to music, reggae, soca, and hip hop are like my big influences.
Big time.
Like the bravado of hip hop, to be able to talk your shit and just the laid back niceness of reggae and soca to make you feel make you feel loose.
Yeah.
And I try to combine the two. I'm basically like the Fushnikins of comedy.
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Who's the
You know
kids?
what I mean? So and it's a big influence, and for me, music also, because and I know it sounds crazy to say, but I get so nervous when I go before I perform, even
Anywhere.
even yeah, and to me, my go-to music to listen to, like to calm myself down before, is either hip hop, reggae, or soca. It's never R&B. It's never a Chris Brown. And no disrespect to Chris Brown, I love his music and all that, and or just R&B in general. But like hip hop or reggae or soca are the musics that kind of
Bring us down
me
to that
down,
level.
because I can feel it in here, and if I can feel it in here, hopefully it'll translate out here outwardly.
In life, we make goals. All of us make our comedic goals. We started out, we got our first goal is open mic. And then the next goal is, can I do the Nubian show? And then from there, we go higher and higher and higher. Experience for me, my first time was later. I got to finally touch Just for Laughs. I finally got to do the Halifax Comedy Festival. You two are festival savants. Explain to me the drive it was to get there, when you got there, how you felt. I've always loved my experience at Just for Laughs, just being in the hotel where all the comedians around the world
Summer
were.
camp, man. It's like hanging out with the X-Men.
Yeah. And tell me your experience. You guys have went from getting to the Just for Laughs festival to be actually writing.
You know
for
what the
festival.
ironic part about that journey for me to get to Just for Laughs, if we're speaking about Just for Laughs specifically,
Yeah.
and no disrespect to any of the other festivals, like you had heard so much about Just for Laughs before you even really started to be a proper comedian.
Right.
And when I started off on Kenny's All Black Comedy Show,
Right.
and that's where my voice came from. You know what I mean? That's where I got my voice. And then as I started to go more mainstream, it used to be presented to me, and again, ignorantly, I bought into some of it, that was a crutch. And doing, ethnic comedy or black comedy or whatever, you don't have any other gears. So I wanted to prove to them I could play your game, I could learn the rules,
And I can win.
and I can win. So when I got to Just for Laughs, like I did it, but I felt like I had almost kind of lost something on the way there. And from doing it, I was like, oh, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was great, don't get me wrong.
Fantastic.
But I wanted to be able to then tack back and be able to tap back into who I was culturally, because that was and still is a huge component of who I am. I love being a representation of my culture, of my people, of my voice and all that kind of stuff, without being over the top preachy or anything like that. But it is a real, if you know me off stage, you know that is, it's like, why is he talking like that? Like you know that's really me. Like I'm
True.
that guy.
And then Dave walks in, fresh faces, and wins. When you went there.
At the home room. Yeah, I mean, that took a lot of years to get there. I think it was a lot of times I thought I was owed it that year or whatever it was. I was like, oh, I did really well here. And then, but it just wasn't my time. I think back then I was just, you're just kind of younger in comedy and you're just like eager.
Right.
I mean, you're still eager now, but like just kind of antsy. And then when I got in,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I think all the years, because I didn't see it at the time, of building up my act and gaining experience. And then they really helped me, because back then the homegrown competition was a contest. So,
Right.
It helped me win because I was really, really vetted and seasoned. And at the time.
Again, speaking of going back to battle rap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
So you
approach it as a
treated
battle
it like
rap,
that? Yeah, I gotta
did.
win.
battle comedy rap.
I gotta win that one. What happened in
An 8 Mile?
Yes, 8 Mile.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Well, it was like when I would treat it up there, like, I heard it from someone else, to another comedian. It's like, when we're in that space, I'm not trying to be your friend.
Right.
I know comedy's subjective, and it's like, you're trying to bring laughter, but I always at least back then, I always looked at it, I was like, yo, when that in that space, I don't care. You getting cooked.
It's not a team sport there.
That's one of the
That's-
first things I told him.
Yeah, first thing he told me is not a team sport. Like, you're like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Dude, this is not a relay race.
And again, just be you, do you, because other comics have whatever internal, could be past trauma, whatever they're dealing with
At the time,
that
especially.
they try to, I need this. You know what I mean? So I just always say, don't let whatever someone else's intention or goals are, upset what you're trying to do.
So now I got to get into the gravy or the itsy part of it. You guys have worked with so many people. Like, I know you're on the Jerry D show. I was doing your, like, so much TV people.
And shout out to you, man. Raimi is a hell of a fucking show, bro.
Wicked.
Thank you, man.
To be so, like, I couldn't, like, I'm already proud of you stand-up wise, but to see you on such critically acclaimed shows like that, like artistically, production wise, like it, and just the voice, it makes me super proud to be like, that's my little brother.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
My little
Congratulations,
brother.
bro.
you.
Congratulations.
So shout out to you, man.
So
Yeah.
some of the people that we've worked with, we meet the goods, we bads. You know, you were talking about you went and did it yourself. And I'm not here to dog people, be like, oh, Jay's podcast, Dave Merheje said that this guy's a jerk. But we have jerks in the business.
Yeah.
I don't need you to say names, but give me some times where these people were just
Oh, I
some
have
people
a
were
list.
just
Hang on.
uncool
Okay.
to deal with. I don't need names. I'm not putting you out there like that, Dave. But you have had interactions where you had someone that was just being a prick.
I think it was unintentionally. I look back at it now. I think it was friends of ours.
Right.
I think it was
Yeah,
people we like,
you know,
who, and I don't think they were being necessary. Like, I could understand now, because it happened to me where I look at something, because I'm just much older. I'll look at it, and if it was a style I didn't understand, my brain was like, what's happening here?
This guy do it.
So I think, and I realized I was doing what they did to me, and I was like, I
Right.
had to stop that quickly. But I remember, like, peers. I don't know, who was in, if you were part of the mix, or just people part of the mix of, like, he was just doing premises.
Right.
But then I look back, I go, yeah, probably if it looked optically, it looked like there was, like, no joke there. So I think, like, when you're younger in comedy and people you kind of look up to and people you were inspired by are jamming up against you. Back then it was a lot of Yuck Yucks comics. I kind of harbored, not an angst, but I was on my back was against the wall of, like, okay, then. But I think as I grew and became friends with everybody, I'm like, oh yeah, they maybe didn't understand what I was doing. That's completely understandable now. So, but also there are, I'm not gonna say their names, you know what I mean? There are people who just kind of come with hate, and, like,
Yep.
it's funny. I ran into someone who treated me awful, and then they treated me nice recently, and I was like, well, I didn't forget, but I was like, who knows what this person was going through back. I try to see it more of like try to find forgiveness. There's some people I don't.
Yes.
There's a couple of people I'm like, I don't think I can forgive you right now.
Yeah.
I'm not in that place, even though I'm trying to be in that place.
Right.
But for the most part, is like, I don't know what traumas you were going through.
And that's how I see it too. Like, my
Same
perspective,
thing, John.
my perspective is in the moment back then, you take it personally. And then I learned to take a step back and realize, this isn't about me. This is about you. And once I realized that, and that, again, not to sound all hokey and hippy dippy, but, like, when I started to get into, like, meditation and yoga and kind of, like, settling myself and understanding who I was, I started to realize that none of it had to do with me, and not just in comedy, just in life. When
Generally
people,
speaking.
when people are being, 99.9% of the times when people are being assholes to you, it's something that they're going through.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I second that.
So I kind of step back from it, and I'll absorb it, unless you're being, like, insanely disrespectful in my face at the time. Then I think, but I don't take any of that personal. And oddly enough, ironically enough, I almost feel sorry for that person, because
Correct.
they haven't been able to fix whatever's broken inside. And
Yeah, I
it's
think-
just a sad thing, because
It is. The two I've encountered, and I'm going to say it, not because it's my show, but I can, was that Dan Ninen situation.
Oh, my God,
When
yeah.
I opened for
Yeah,
Russell
yeah,
Peters,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we switched the order around, and he was like, I go on before Russ, and they were like, Jay, are you going to do the Indian bit? And I remember you telling him, it's not that Jay's the best comedian in this group. It's just that bit this Russell crowd is gonna go nuts when they see it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it was funny because he was like, no, I go on before Russ. And then Russell came last minute, and Russell was like, Jay, you doing the bit? Yeah. And he switched us. And all of these guys said, like, eat this guy. But it wasn't about eating him. It was just about me doing it. I was new at the time.
Yeah.
Russell took us out for dinner. We went to a Greek spot. It's just how we were sitting. I was sitting beside him. I'm like, hey, how you enjoy? And he was like, don't talk to me. Synonymously, a week later, Russell's performing in New York at the world famous Apollo Theater.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, I get out there. And Dan Nining's opening act. And he doesn't let me in. Like he locks the green
physically
room
does
door
not let him in the building.
in the building.
Yeah.
And then I see him out front and he's got a camera taping it. I'm like, Dad, I get it. You think I murdered you last week. Be a comic. And he was like, do I know you? And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I had to call this guy to call me from jumping off that time the Empire State Building because I couldn't believe it. And I'm not blaming Russell because they booked
cry
him.
on the phone before.
But I'm just saying,
Are you sniffling?
jerks are out there. Jerks are out there. The same thing happened with Steve Harvey. It was like these two guys really gauged how I wanted to think. So those moments, I do relate with you with whatever Dan was going through, whatever Steve Harvey was going through that day. I just thought I had family feud. And well, he killed me that day. They both killed me those days. And those are things I will never forget. You know what I mean? And I sit back and I take your mantra on that they must have been going through something because they didn't know me from a hole in the mouth. I just did what I normally do. And it's that experience.
And the other thing too is like I feel like things like money and let's say fame or notoriety
correct.
just kind of amplifies who you are inside.
Right.
So if you become famous or rich and you're an asshole, you were an asshole before that. Hov did that. You know what I mean? You are who you were before you got here.
Straight.
You know what I mean? And I remember hearing that line from Jay-Z and I was like, oh man, this is so
classic.
true. You know what I mean? And so again, that's a you problem, and I try not to absorb that energy. And one of the big things for me is I try to curate my energy. And what like you always tell me all the time is like, yo man, what's your repellent? How come people don't, you know what I mean?
That's what you.
I don't
zen.
put that energy out there, and
Right.
and I don't my energy, and I'm saying that I put out a shitty energy, but I don't put an energy out that looks like the door is wide open.
Right.
Like I need you to knock.
Yeah.
So
you got to knock.
You got to knock, and then I got to look through the peephole and
Make sure you can come in.
I'm not home.
All right. So this is my favorite. This is my favorite question. You're unprepared for this. Both of you are not prepared for this.
No, I'm not into booty play.
I gotta call. Listen, me and this guy, we go so far back. I'm gonna need another episode for just me and him because we have so much to talk about with our stuff. I'm honored that I got you in the
I'm
building.
honored, dude.
That
happy to see
it
you, bro.
just worked out perfectly
Happy to
that
see you, dude.
Dave Merheje is in from Los Angeles and he has a couple of minutes to spare with us. So I had to make sure that this question was there. I moved this mic for a second and open up a shirt that someone gave me. Look at that's bad boy.
I don't know any of those people.
Wow.
Legends. Legends. Legends.
so
And
funny,
they might
bro.
not be everyone's legend because you got Pryor there. Who else? We got Bernie Mac.
Robin Harris, Red
Robin
Fox.
Harris and Red Fox. I'm here to talk to you guys about some of your goats, man. Not curried goats for the West Indians that are watching. I'm talking comedy goats. I want your list of guys.
How many do we get?
You know what? It was hard. I was doing this with a couple of comedians before, and it was like so hard.
Because Mount Rushmore is what, 4, right?
The Mount Rushmore is 4. All right, let's for fun, for shits and giggles. Let's see your Mount Rushmore, Dave.
Yeah, go first, Dave.
Yeah, go first, Dave.
Tough one, I guess.
Right.
It's people like, I mean, all certain age, but like I would say Richard Pryor was the first. I mean, my uncle back in the day, my Canadian uncle showed me Dice Clay, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, and Carlin. But I kind of
that's a nice
gravitated,
list.
to Pryor because I just kind of found the vulnerability was something I was like. Then I realized. Then I was like, I'm gonna chase that vulnerability on stage.
Oh, dope.
When I started.
How old were you when you figured that out? That's what
Yeah.
when you went to
I think
check.
I saw he was doing this bit where he was a heroin junkie and a wino and a wino. He's trying to get the wino to help him strap up.
Yeah.
And then the lights went out. I remember I was in the living room with my mom. I don't know why she let me watch it, but and then the lights went out and I was like, man, I don't even know what that was. And he came back and he started doing stand up. I was like, he had characters. I've never seen anything like it. So I was like,
gravitated
Yeah,
right
I think
there.
when my 20, early, even maybe 17, 18, and then I saw this Comedy Central thing, I Ain't Dead Yet.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And then Jamie Foxx said something like Pryor put all his business on the stage. And I
Yeah.
just thought that was another interesting thing that I wanted to try to chase for the rest of time if I had with stand-ups. So he kind of, the thing with Pryor too, I'd put Pryor on even, I wouldn't laugh at some points. It was
Yes.
more of like a musician. It was like more therapeutic.
Correct.
Yeah, listen to jazz or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't really do that with any other comedian. I would put it on and be like, you know, I remember the Mafia bit he had where he was like, the Italian guy.
Oh,
So, yes.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
look at
They
Rich.
told you got a black guy. You do this, you do that.
But then when he does the whole imitation where he goes, I was hitting the guy with the ice pick, and he goes, then the ice pick broke, and then with the punch, I think something was like, he goes, "Do you want to ride?" or something like that, and then I'm like, it was just the way he
Delivered
he
it.
delivered it. That was so. I would say he kind of takes up a lot of the Mount Rushmore in my head because it's just something that I constantly try to imitate.
Or emulate.
Emulate like
yeah.
so many times, and I still do. I was like, how do I get to hear? I think it's Here and Now.
Right.
Just a masterpiece of like, you know, when he lit himself on fire and he came back and it's just I don't know. I mean, it's
quite a list though.
yeah, it's like,
And I know there's others on it that had
Mike
to get,
Epps is on it because
Yeah.
of just how purely funny Mike Epps is.
He
Mike
has
Epps could take
practicalities.
and he could take like talking about a tree in this room and extend this bit. I can't even like, there was when he said what's his name? Brown, what's the singer's name? James Brown.
James Brown.
Brown?
Yeah.
He goes, man, they call James Brown looking like a Thundercat. The police. I think I was like, I couldn't. He just is so.
He's
naturally-
silly. I
he's
love
silly.
Philly.
Yeah,
I love
he
the
is. He's a
physicality
trip.
of it.
He's a
I love
trip.
the pureness of just the foolish. It's just foolish. Like
He-
stupid shit makes me laugh.
And then like
Hands
Eddie,
down.
like these are people like, you know, Eddie Murphy that like
Oh, come on.
set the
tone.
press, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like, and then you have like Carlin. Obviously, if you even look back now, because like Carlin's clips will pop up on TikTok or wherever, and
And
you're like,
still relevant.
Right.
super relevant.
Still
He
relevant,
maybe
yeah.
even more relevant now, and you're just watching this. So yeah, it was like they created areas for everyone to kind of come after. And,
Japes, your list,
So for me, and
and it's hard to stay to
they
four.
kind of mirror what Dave's looks like. So my prior experience, and I mean Richard Pryor, not priors in past,
Right.
homonyms. So I grew up in the LP era.
Right.
Of record players. So I remember I was 9 years old and we were living in Trinidad at the time, and my parents would go out and being
Watch
the
yourself.
being the 70s, they would just leave me in the house. And my dad still to this day is like a big music guy as well as comedy. Like I'm so thankful that my parents had a great comedy IQ. So Pryor was huge, and I remember listening to Wanted. I think that's the one where it looks like it's a sketch face and that nigga crazy. I remember listening to those albums, and just like you can hear everything in there. Like you could feel the energy that was in that room kind of thing. And it was so captivating because it was great storytelling, the vulnerability of the storytelling. And even at that age, I didn't know, a good chunk of that stuff. And I'm still pissed that he sullied, not Pryor, but that he sullied his legacy in Bill Cosby.
I knew it. Yeah.
Is still one of the greatest storytellers, and the fact that he
nuts.
destroyed the legacy that allows me to comfortably
Yeah, speak on his
what he-
greatness.
love what he did.
Facts.
Is unfortunate. So then came the supernova that was Eddie Murphy.
Right.
And when I was 12 and I saw and heard Eddie Murphy for the first time, that is what made me want
To do
be
this.
to be a comedian.
Right.
And by extension Carlin, but there's so many for me. Like I enjoy pieces of
Every person that we
I
can put
love
together.
Chappelle.
Of
Like
course.
I love, not only do I love Chappelle, I love Chappelle's comedy arc,
And growth.
and growth, like from where it started to where it, like you didn't even foresee any of that.
No.
And the tactician expertise, the Brett the Hitman Hart writing of Chris Rock and the
Yeah.
performances, you know,
Yes.
and speaking of being honest,
Big
and,
specials,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean. And I consider myself a student of the game, and even there, like a lot of people aren't ever really aware of the backstory. Like, you know, Bring the Pain, people didn't realize
Yeah,
that if
serious
that
was paid.
wasn't successful, there'd be no more Chris Rock. Like
Yeah.
if that had bombed and didn't do anything,
Yeah.
he was out the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He put out like I feel like they weren't just comedy albums. They put out like they felt like classic hip hop albums.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
So I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
felt like when
yeah.
you think about those two, you're like, oh man, those are like back
Yeah.
to back, like one of the best things.
Before we wrap up, you guys are incredible.
still
I'm
not
so
into-
happy to have it.
Still not into booty play.
have on our show here. But all jokes aside, who's on the come up? Name me two people that you guys have encountered that you're like, they're good now, but they have the gumption to be able to.
What are we talking about, like Canadian or just in general?
General. I know, Dave, you're in LA. You see a lot of them coming up. Like, you're like, that guy's going to have it. This guy might have it. I'm going to like this new comic that does this.
So, I mean, he's already kind of established, but one of my favorite dudes to watch, just because I find it incredible what he does, is Josh Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like just because it's unheard of to be able to shoot a comedy special every week.
Right. That's just nuts.
Like, you know, he just takes whatever's going on in the news and what's going on in society and
Right.
goes up. And again, I don't know what the process is. I don't know if he just shows up and just shoots, if he shoots three of them and shoots one,
Right.
or just goes up into. But Josh Johnson for me, I think is probably the next, and he's already there. But I think I think he's the next blow up because he's, especially with what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
like, to be able to
Yes.
synthesize
I know
all
what
of
to
that
say.
information and turn that into comedy. I think is a beautiful thing to watch.
How about you, Dave?
There's multiple Malik Elasso, Emil Joaquim.
Malik's hilarious.
Yeah,
bro.
they're just kind of like, I mean, they're not really on the come up. They're
Yeah,
like,
it's hard to say
They're
come
not.
up 'cause
They're more established, but they're just
Right.
not.
They're there, yeah.
Yeah, they just have
Yeah.
like
They're on the cusp.
their person, they're who they are, and they just have a really good. They've gotten their point of view, and
Right.
it clearly comes across in their stand up. It's funny. I mean, he's there, but like when you said who do I love watching Nathan McIntosh.
I love Nate,
and
man.
Deborah
Nate
Giovanni.
cracks
Both
me up.
those
Yeah,
two
yeah,
watching.
yeah.
They're very established, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying they're on the come up at all. It's more of like because you said who I love to watch. I was like, oh, those are two. I was like,
Yeah.
they're just like I can't even like. They just kind of like.
It's funny.
Nate, we ended up doing the Hubcap Festival, and again, it was like average temperature. Every day we would walk to Sobeys in the morning, and then like hit the gym, and then like we would follow each other to each other's shows, and it was like minus 30 or something ridiculous. I had in Moncton in some like tiny bar where like, you know, they still had the hockey game on, and
Yeah.
and the mic wasn't working, and he told he told this bit so passionately about him and his brother running up porn charges on when they had Super Channel back in the day on First Choice or whatever. And his mom getting the bill. And to watch him tell that with the conviction that only Nate McIntosh can was literally
Yeah,
I think
a beautiful work of art, man.
I think the three of us, and I'm going to keep it just Canadian. I'm going to say same with Nate. I love Nate. Nate will do a Subway bit, and I will watch it like clapping so proud.
Yeah.
Nate McIntosh and Mike Rita.
Mike
Mike.
Rita. Yeah,
Mike
Mike
Rita
Rita's
is my guy because I'm just like, I see him walk into rooms where he looks nervous and just destroys it.
So too, like I think, like I'll mention Jared Campbell as well because his
Yeah,
writing
wow.
is just like very. But with Mike, I remember we were in Windsor on a Just for Laughs road show, and Windsor is like that's where I grew up. But they're like it could be a problem sometimes,
Right.
even at a Just for Laughs theater show. I'm like these guys are. They just like on one, even if it's like a theater, it doesn't even matter. And I think Rita, he was doing well. He was hosting, but I think he came back. He goes, "Man, what's wrong? Not what's wrong with these people." I forgot what he said. I was like, bro, these Windsor.
This is Windsor.
They're like savages out there.
Yes.
They're like, you know what I mean? They don't even care if it's a theater show.
Right.
And then the way he adjusted in the second half
was just beautiful.
was true professional. It was like, you know what
Called
I mean?
an
It's
audible.
like,
That's
yeah,
Mike.
I mean, not
That's
that
Mike.
he was doing great.
Yeah,
It's just that
just
he
made the adjustment.
He made like this minor adjustment and it just brought it like, you know. because it's like a rowdy, because you know those
Yeah.
JFL road shows, most of them like they're like theater, people love going to theater, so there was no issues until Windsor.
Yeah.
And
People,
then
people
it
don't realize.
all went
People don't
over.
realize border towns are completely
Yeah,
different.
they're-
vibe.
they're not like
Completely
the
different
same.
vibe. Yeah, yeah.
You gotta
And
prep.
the views of Windsor expressed by Dave Merheje are not necessarily those of
Not all
Jean
Dave.
Paul
Dave
and the
Merheje
management.
has them. Well, you guys have heard it right here. I can talk to these guys all day. I got the Island Hipster here, Dave Merheje in town. Yours truly, Jay Martin. We are here at True Patriot Love. For everyone, you log on tplmedia.ca. Make sure you check out all the stuff we have there. Keep it locked here for some of the best comedians in the world. This is All Jokes Aside. I'm your host, Mr. Jay Martin.
Who's Red Fox?
That's that older guy, Sanford and Son. We'll see you next time.